You're listening to the Southern U Podcast, brought to you by Darton Archery on the OKest Podcast Network, with your hosts Taylor McMurtry, Jeremy Ferguson, and Matt Brock. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Southern U Podcast, where we attempt to educate landowners on all things habitat and land related. Joined as always with Mr. Jeremy Ferguson, Tut Land / Wildlife Consulting Services. Jeremy, you having fun at NWTF, man?
I'm having a blast.
Yeah.
I'm tired already.
Oh, I am too,
but,
for sure.
But having a good time.
And, of course, the Ale Deer legend, my man,
There he
Matt
is.
Brock. It's the guy right there.
Just embrace it.
Just embrace it.
No,
man.
y'all are going to stop it.
The people love the legend.
No, they don't.
Long live the legend. That's actually what they said.
I don't like it.
We voted on it. Remember?
There's
I don't
hundreds
care
of
what-
people on AL Deer that are just there
Yeah,
to interact with you.
No, they're not.
that's right.
No, they're not.
Tell us we're wrong, guys. And then, obviously, the guest of the hour here, we have Mr. Bobby Cole of Mossy Oak and Gamekeepers. So, Bobby, thank you so much for hanging out with us and taking some time. We're actually in the room, I guess, what is this, the studio that you guys have reserved here at the Ryman?
Well, it's just a room. I
It's
think
a
they
room.
named it a studio.
That's
it's just
true.
a room.
The main thing is that it is much quieter here
Yes.
than out on the exhibition floor, and even where we were at for the last couple shows, we had like techno music play, blasting in the background. So
Kids cartwheeling down the hall.
that's right. Yeah, had all kinds of stuff going on. So this should be, as far as audio goes, it should be the best one of our time here in Nashville. Bobby, if it's okay, I was just gonna kind of get a intro just for you, and I guess kind of how you got into kind of this side of things and where you're at with Mossy Oak, and kind of give our listeners a little intro.
Yeah, so, look, I grew up in Montgomery. So I'm from Alabama, and have hunted all around Alabama for all my life. And then I met Toxie at a turkey calling contest, and I guess in the late 80s. And we hit it off and became friends. And just when the right time, things with Mossy Oak, he was wanting to start kind of a video / TV department. And so I moved over from Montgomery and helped with that. I went into the marketing department.
Sure.
And so I've been there ever since. We've done a lot of things, but I found Mossy Oak and West Point a place I believe in the product.
Sure.
And I have a lot of trust and respect for Toxie, and so I've just kind of that's West Point's home now.
That's awesome. So it's been mainly turkey hunting is what got it all started. I
For
guess.
me, yeah. I mean, I've been crazy about turkeys for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, and that's being here. Except for COVID, I've been to this show. I don't know, over 30 years in a row.
Wow.
So.
That's awesome.
But it's when you love something. I don't know if it's all necessarily good, because I've other friends that have gone into other careers. I think life's a little easier for them. But, they get their weekends, and
that's true. We talked about that earlier. It's like, if you really enjoy doing things in the outdoors that have seasons, that have an opening and an end to them, you're probably better off doing something that allows you to actually do those things during that season instead of, making that a career, because then you don't ever get to go or that kind of stuff. So
I got to ask, what, and I noticed it with Matt over here first, but so you get these goatees without a mustache. What is that called? And
That's called not being a real man.
Well, I mean, I don't like a mustache.
Yeah,
I don't, and I have a hard time growing one anyway. I could try to grow
Yeah.
one, but it's not going to be there. So I just
I didn't know if it was like a thing.
Well,
people, I've got, mine's kind of twofold. One, it is a creeper stash. What it does, like Matt said, mine won't grow, and when it does grow, it's not good. The other thing is my wife hates a mustache.
My wife.
It's like, hey, look, if you still want to get some sugar every now and then, then you better get rid of the mustache. Like, well, that's a pretty easy decision.
Yeah. No mustache in this family.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if it was code for something.
No, there's no code.
And I'm not crazy
Careful.
about having facial hair, but I hate shaving.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all have seen Joe Dirt. It's like, oh man, that's a crazy facial hair you've got there. You shave it like that? No, like it just grows that way. Like, oh wow, so you're that white trash enough that it just grows like that. You don't have to shave it. Like, yep,
That's right.
pretty much. That's funny. Yeah, and like we said on previous episodes, the way that the flow of our stuff typically goes is we ask each other or we ask our guests 5 questions, and once we roll through those 5, sometimes more questions, and that's pretty much the end of it. We keep things relatively short and sweet, but that's kind of how it's gone so far. So the first one, I guess really technically the second question here for Mr. Bobby. Mossy Oak started in Mississippi, obviously, I think it's 1986. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, 86 as a camo company to start with. Is that?
That's right. Toxie is a big turkey hunter, and his father was a member of a club in Southwest Alabama that always had turkeys. When other parts of the South didn't have turkeys, Choctaw Bluff had turkeys. So he grew up getting to go down there and turkey hunt that as a young child. And he said at the time, he's told the story so many times, but they would have little wooden like stick blinds built all over the property. So if the turkey was over here, they'd go to this blind. If the turkey was over there, they'd go to this blind. And everything was just running from one blind to the next. And he would say, Dad, why can't we sit out? Why can't we just lean against this tree right here? And he'd be like, son, they'll see you. We got to get in these blinds. And so it's kind of, as simple as this sounds, he said from a young child, he dreamed of being invisible or having something on, wearing something that would let him lean against a tree so he could just walk straight to the turkey and sit down. And that's kind of how it all started.
Wow.
That's really
And there's
cool.
a tree down there on that property called the Mossy Oak. And it was like a landmark there, and club members used it like, well, you go to the Mossy Oak and turn right, or what, and so that and he always loved that name. And
See, I've never heard that history before.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
so
supposed
cool.
to go next week and actually get to see that Choctaw Bluff camp. There's a guy down there we're going to interview, and the Mossy Oak tree is just a stump now. Lightning struck it.
Oh, wow.
But when it did, the owners of the camp were kind enough to save a bunch of the wood and gave it to Toxie, and he's used. We've got turkey calls and knives and all sorts of stuff made out of that
really
tree.
cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And this is really crazy. He's got part of the stump, and if you stand over the stump and look down on it, it's in the shape of the Mossy Oak logo tree.
What?
I mean,
Are you
you can
serious?
kind of visualize it.
Oh,
It
wow.
really is.
What?
It's kind of gives you chill bumps,
Yeah.
but that's the story.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
That is awesome. Well, yeah, I mean, so love the history. So it started as a camo company, and obviously it has evolved into much more than that. And I was just going to see if you would maybe just take us through what that journey looked like and what things had to fall into place or what things took place in order for that to happen and kind of be where you guys are now.
Well, so I would give Toxie all the credit, but early on, I think he realized or knew that for it to grow and to be substantial and sustainable, it had to have other aspects to it. And so along the way, we started a seed company, Biologic. He's always kind of quickly pointed out that unless you have critters or unless you have land, you're not going to get to hunt it. So it's one it needs the other. So encouraging people to have their own property or having the desire to have their own property and then manage that property and being able to plant trees. We've got a nursery and be able to manage the property, plant different things. So all that is kind of interrelated, if you will, to ultimately that same. If that guy's doing all this, he's going to need camo, and it seems like a long way to get back around to sell some camo. Right. But that's kind of the circle of it.
Sure.
And all those other businesses all support each other. So.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, obviously gamekeepers thing is really cool.
Yeah,
You know, a matter of fact, the last one that I watched was actually you guys doing some data collection on black bears in Alabama.
In Alabama, yeah.
Yeah, and just, to think.
How about that girl climbing in that den and poking that bear with a stick?
Yeah. And snatching those cubs out and taking data and measurements and then, wow.
Yeah, that young lady, her name was Hannah. I can't remember her last name, but I was so impressed with her.
Yes.
Her fearlessness. And she had caught a couple of hundred bears in North Alabama.
Yeah.
And, laid her hands on them, tagged them, weighed them.
People don't realize how many bears are up there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They've been having cubs in North Alabama for a long time now, and Southwest Alabama too.
Yeah, and so it seems like the bears in Southwest Alabama are struggling a little bit more than the bears in the Northeast Alabama are, but from what we learned. But that was eye opening for me. And you mentioned gamekeepers, and it's kind of like it's the brand that we use to shine a light on all these different things.
Sure.
So we'd like to say now that a guy has a reason to be on his property 12 months out of the year and manage it and look after it and take care of it, and we call that guy a gamekeeper.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's really neat for to kind of just think through that journey. I remember being a little kid and my dad buying new camo and everybody going, man, what is that stuff? And it's Mossy oak. And and now to see kind of where things are now, and even like the conservation efforts, and kind of, you said, the educational portion of Mossy oak, which is done through gamekeepers. It's really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, we're real proud of that positioning, and it's very authentic to us to try to take care of, give back, and shine a light on people that are doing good or projects that people are doing, so that other people will find out about them. A lot of people didn't know about the black bear projects in Alabama and what's going on, and that's just a really good example of one.
Yeah, I had a distant friend, from a distance, and he has some property in, or he doesn't own it, but he leases some property in Mentone, extreme northeast Alabama, and he was, it's a bow only lease, which is like a unicorn for me. I love archery, so I was really interested from the jump, and just kind of asked him, okay, well, how much land is it, and what are your harvest restrictions, and what are you trying to do with it? And he mentioned that there were bears up there, and he was sending me like videos that he had taken from his tree stand, like filming a black bear walking underneath him, or trail camera pictures and stuff like that. And it was kind of wild to think there's that many, that concentrated in that part of the state, that he can get collared, ones that have been collared and ones that haven't, and pretty impressive. But
there's some big bears,
like Little River Canyon kind of area.
Little River, Cherokee County, down in that farm country. We've got some pictures of some really big bears, for us.
Sure.
They're not the East Coast bears in North Carolina, but they're big bears for us.
So there may be one day a season.
Well, that's what my next question was going to be, sidebar, but do you think that in our lifetimes we'll see a season?
I do. I think in our lifetime we will see a season in zones for Alabama.
Really?
I do.
Probably a real limited draw, I would expect. But
I'm a little less optimistic, just because I know some people that are in the panhandle of Florida, and they talk about, look, if you want to hang a feeder up, you'd better put it on an overhanging limb or fabricate something, because if you put it on a feeder that has legs, like, forget about it. They're going to tear it up, and they tried, I think, to open up a very short window for a season, and a lot of people did not like that, and so the state shut it down the next year.
I know when I worked for NWTF in Southeast Mississippi, we had several complaints each year of people feeding birds or wildlife in their backyard, and the bears would come tear the feeders down, and of course we'd have to relocate those bears, and you can take them 50 to 70 miles away, and they're coming right back.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's the reason we'll end up with a season.
When you have a problem bear
with human dimension issues,
oh yeah,
human bear conflict, the last resort. Somebody's going to kill the bear,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a game official or a hunter. Why not let a hunter?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people would
That's
pay
my
for the
thoughts.
opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to say, how hard of a sale do you? I mean, you guys work for the state. How hard of a sale do you think that would be?
I think we're still years away from it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the time is coming where it's going to have to be discussed on a state agency standpoint.
Gotcha.
Alabamians are so focused on property rights that I think the push will be, we want to protect our property, and really legally they can now.
Mm-hmm.
We had a particular instance in where I grew up, Albertville. One of the, a guy shot one of the bears that were moving through. It's been a few years ago.
I remember that. In the Sims community and all that,
but
Pleasant Grove.
Yep, he shot the bear. Didn't kill the bear. We ended up finding it later, and it was fine. But there's nothing they could charge him with. He was protecting his livestock.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I have another friend of ours that has a small piece of property in Woodville, and it's just a funny story. His wife kept saying they had a horse that they kept on like a runner leash, like from basically one end of their pasture to the other. I don't know why they did it that way, but
Odd.
it is kind of weird. But his wife kept saying, "I've seen a bear out there chasing the horse around. I've seen a bear." He was like, "Hush, what are you, you don't know what you're talking about. Hush." And anyway, he came home from work one day, and that horse had gotten off. It basically fighting for its life, I guess, and the police had helped kind of corral the horse and run it up into someone's fenced-in property and try to get the horse back. But yeah, it was absolutely a black bear that had gotten after the horse. It's just like, I told you, you wouldn't listen to me. So. The Southern U podcast is brought to you by Tethered. For the last 5 years and counting, Tethered has pushed the boundaries of what mobile hunting looks like. Thanks to Tethered, gone are the days of having to haul heavy gear into the woods in order to hunt from elevation. Their lineup of tree saddles are lighter and safer than other methods. And saddles are not the only thing that Tethered has made better. Their complete lineup of sticks, packs, and other accessories have streamlined the process of getting to your desired hunting area and doing more of what we all love to do, hunt. So if you're ready to ditch the bulky, heavy, and loud hunting methods of the past, check out Tethered's complete list of products and gear at tetherednation.com. That's TETHRDNATION.com. Anyways, it's fun stuff. Next question here, kind of switching gears and talking more conservation and kind of habitat-related stuff. What do you feel like is the biggest challenge facing conservation efforts in the South specifically? I mean, last night we had a chance to interview Paul Campbell, and he referenced the state of Ohio. And didn't he say it was like of all land in Ohio, it's like 5% was public. Mm-hmm. So the rest, I mean, you've got a major issue with, like, it doesn't really matter what state agencies do with bag limits or do with harvest or whatever. It's it's such a small percentage. Mm-hmm. It's hard to make that big of a difference. So I just, out of curiosity, I know it's something you guys are doing with gamekeepers.
Yeah, well, so this is my opinion.
Sure,
you asked my opinion,
absolutely.
And when you think about it, there's a lot of people thinking long and hard about turkeys, mm-hmm. and I think some of the I think things are heading in the right direction. People are they woke up and they realized, hey, we do have a problem. Let's see what we can do to help. And Alabama made some adjustments. Mm-hmm. My opinion might need one more little tweak. That's just my opinion. I like that they moved I personally like they moved the date back so to allow those birds to breed. And I think ultimately I think we should end up at 3 birds. That's just my opinion again. But I think people are thinking about all that that's going in a good direction. But I think what worries me the most is we have more deer than I can ever remember. I mean, mm-hmm. And it seems like it's harder to get people to shoot does.
Absolutely.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And Yeah, and so there could be people listening to this that don't have as many deer, and this isn't a problem everywhere in some states. But I think for the majority of the South, there's just way too many deer. And guys are just, and I'm guilty of it myself, I think I'm not going to shoot my does because I don't want to mess up I want them around as bait for when the rut starts, and then things you get busy doing something else and you don't get all your numbers. But there just needs to be some kind of revitalization or a incentive or some kind of way that we could get people to shoot more does and maybe get them out of the way early. I wish that there was a way that we could form some kind of meat bank and we could help this. Maybe there's a way that you could just take a deer to the processor and just drop it off. And somebody, and that processor maybe would agree to process it for less amount of money, and some fund helps pay for that. Right. And then that meat goes to homeless shelters or people that need it.
Sure.
But if we could build some kind of program around that, an idea like that, I think we could help a lot of people that need some protein.
Yeah.
And probably help ourselves too.
Yeah, and I've noticed that in a lot of northwest Alabama. I've been telling people for years that northwest Alabama is having the population boom that the Black Belt had 30 years ago. And now the Black Belt has kind of leveled off and the deer population has reached a plateau with what the habitat can support, and then hunters have, made pretty good efforts at trying to control that population. But now in northwest Alabama, we're where they were.
Yeah.
And it's getting harder and harder for people to accept the fact that we might need to shoot a few more deer. And then what I hear often is, I'm going to shoot does, but I don't want to fool with them. I'm going to put it off. Well, you keep putting it off until it's the end of season and it doesn't get done. And we're talking about opinions. I think that the February extension is leading to an even higher ratio skewed in favor of females. Because everybody's still wanting to shoot that buck the last 10 days of season. So you've given 10 more days of opportunity to shoot an antlered deer. And I know at one processor in Lamar County, the weekend before the close of season, there were 6 shed bucks brought in one day. So, I think we're still continuing to over-harvest the buck segment of the population and allowing those does to continue to populate the area. And I think that the added 10 days are actually making that issue worse, not better.
And I think the added 10 days was initially for the much more southern counties than Lamar County.
Yes.
You were speaking of that.
Yep.
And I think, I'm not sure how Lamar got in that.
Well, it became a statewide regulation.
Well, and that's why we've joked about it on here before, but we have zones.
Yeah.
Right. There are different zones, and there are different start dates to the season and end date. But it's like, but we're going to make a blanket statement that the entire state gets at least 10 days in February, and that's. Again, I'm no biologist. I'm a no one, but that makes no sense.
There was biology involved with that decision, but there was also other factors as well. So
and it's
so the whole state gets 10 days now.
Other than zone, what is it, D and E?
And it goes farther.
No, D and E's got the ones that starts in November.
They start earlier.
That's right.
So the Bankhead
population, and then along the Chattahoochee River.
Chattahoochee.
Yeah. But my thing is, once it's been given,
it's hard.
It's going to be extremely difficult to take it away because now it's an expectation that hunters in those regions have. And honestly, I don't hear a lot of positivity from the hunters about it. Everybody says we don't need it, we don't want it. The processors say we don't need it, we don't want it. Yet people continue to go.
Yeah, and that's right. Look, if you give folks the opportunity, they're going to take it.
They're going to take it.
That's just human nature. But somebody sent us a picture of a guy that was. I think he was talking about going to the advisory board, and people were joking, at us picking, but that he wanted to talk to the advisory board about how thankful he was for the 10 days.
Right.
He's in Marshall County
with
me, and he's right though for us in that area. Our deer are
extremely late.
They're bad late. If you've got them in January, then you're doing pretty good. most of them are hitting that last few days of January and those first few days of February. But you move 40 miles in any direction,
totally different,
and it's totally different. We've just got a little pocket right there.
So I grew up in Montgomery and hunted around Union Springs, and the rut was always that last week of January.
Right.
And so I never knew what it was like in February because we always had to quit. But you just always knew it was going to be. It was good. And then I moved over to Mississippi, and they extend it. And so I haven't got to go back home and ever hunt those 10 days. So I was, but when it occurred and when it was given, I applauded them for doing that because that part of the world needed that to get to enjoy the runt.
Absolutely.
They needed that.
Yes, there are definitely areas of the state that need it, but it's justified.
And those zones have helped a lot.
They have.
And they've got it about, I think, where the number of zones probably needs to be. There's a few little tweaks here and there, but we've talked a lot about how hard it is to draw those zones so that we don't make lawbreakers out of people that don't intend to break the law. And, it can be tough, but I like the zones where they are now. I wish some of them would probably change a little bit from the turkey standpoint.
Yes, I agree with you on the pushing back of the season for most of the state. I don't like it for extreme South Alabama. And the only reason why is when season opens down there, it's deadgum near summer. I mean, it's warm weather, very warm weather. So they're not getting to experience the traditional spring season that they have for all of their lifetime.
Yeah.
I would like to see some breeding data, which I haven't, but I'm working with some really large landowners in southwest Alabama, and we've got a lot of cameras out. And let me tell you, birds, they are gobbling their heads off right now, and they're getting ready. If it stays warm,
yes,
they will be wide open.
But
soon.
What is so strange to me is all of the data that has been collected on average nest initiation, average hatching dates, they don't differ more than a day or two from Huntsville to Mobile.
And that's fascinating.
Same thing in Mississippi. Mississippi has found the exact same thing to be true. So although what we're observing as hunters is that, hey, man, these birds, 200 miles south of here, they're gobbling 3 weeks earlier than North Alabama birds. It seems to be that the hens are not initiating any nesting behaviors until the North Alabama birds. So they're nesting at the same time.
Isn't that interesting?
It is very interesting.
Stupid birds.
Why can't they just do what we want them to do?
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. And funny, interesting story. So the part of Mississippi, it's right on the Alabama line. So, but Clay County, Mississippi didn't have any turkeys. And Toxie's father had grown up down hunting those birds we were talking about earlier, and was trying to get the state of Mississippi to bring some birds. And they told him if you can get, I think it was about 10,000 contiguous acres together, that they would bring X amount of birds and turn them loose. And if he could get all those people to sign something, we won't hunt them for 5 years. And he did that. He did everything he was supposed to. Mr. Fox did everything he was supposed to do, and they brought some birds from a island in the Mississippi River called Catfish Point.
I know exactly where that's at.
And supposedly that was an old. They'd always been there. That was a part of the state that had turkeys, and they brought. And I could get this wrong, but I think it was 11 hens, and turned them loose. And Toxie tells a story that Mr. Fox said, "Now look, I'm just a country boy, but I know that these hens got to have a rooster." And they turned them loose in like late February.
Yeah.
And he said, "Mr. Fox, just trust us. They're okay. They've been bred."
Yeah.
And he kind of looked at him like, "I don't know about this boy," but the next spring they started seeing baby turkeys run around everywhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it just and it just kind of took off from there. Those are two big. There's two big hardwood bottoms, the Tibby, and the Succotanche and the Hulka and all that. And those turkeys have just spread all the way out up there. But it started off with just hens.
That's
turning
crazy.
That is wild.
But that just kind of it's that point that they're breeding.
That's right. Mm-hmm. They are breeding
right now.
Yes, they are breeding right now.
That is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, the challenges that the state has, you guys are really savvy wildlife guys. I mean, you're a biologist. And you've researched all this stuff, and you know these things. Mm-hmm. But by the time it gets from the biologist community and advising the people that make the decisions, it becomes political along the way. And they to get what they want, they have to do this. Yep. And I just don't know how it all gets done. But
I don't either.
I'm
not anymore.
I'm not a part of that process anymore.
It's I think there's some. I'm a big fan of Chuck Seitz. I think he's trying hard, and I think he's. I tell you what, he's about as serious a turkey hunter as you ever run into, and so he cares about the turkeys. And for him to,
he does.
Yeah, for him to be willing to we need to back this down a little bit.
Yeah, and I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. I wouldn't want to be in the shoes of any director.
No, it's
or chief or.
You've got to somehow take the science. Take hunter opinion and desires, which can be drastically different at times, and make it work out.
Merge them.
Yep, and it can be difficult.
Yep.
Well,
always make somebody mad.
Oh yeah.
And the thing that I've heard Chuck say 1,000 times, if he said it once, which 50% of people you want me to piss off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, one's for it or one's against it. You know, that's about the way it runs. 50% of the folks are for what you're doing, 50%'s against. You know, always in a no-win.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And trying to explain some of this stuff to people that have grown up with it being one way.
Right.
I mean, my whole life growing up, you could shoot a deer a day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it was, so I went to a little school, Trinity. And at some point when I was about to graduate, there was a young guy came over to Montgomery Academy. His name was Walter Tutt, and I remember hearing their talk about their family. Never met him. I wouldn't know him if he walked in here, but I always heard that they had a farm, and I think it was
Nanafly, yep.
That was like unbelievable. You could go in an afternoon and see 100 deer, and I thought, and this was like 1983.
That was unheard of then.
And I thought, how in the world? So what is that world like now after many, many years of having that many deer?
For folks that actively manage, it's pretty good. For folks that have kind of taken the sidelines, you know, too busy to harvest does, too busy to do much work, it has kind of trended downhill a little bit. The deer, they don't see quite the deer quality that they used to. You know, they've kept those numbers pretty high, overpopulated for the habitat standpoint, and not just a ton of active management. Other than, you know, some timber operations here and there. But Walter's Place is still, you know, good. They actively manage. They do a lot of burning. They do a lot of thinning. Still too many deer. Walter is, you know, I work for him, broker with Tut. But I tell him all the time he is almost too far gone preservationist. he likes to see his animals, and he likes people to see them. But he also understands you've got to play a very active role in managing your property, or it's not gonna go well long term anyway.
So back then, we literally could kill a buck a day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the season was, I've never counted it up, but I bet it was 90 days at least. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's just kind of just radical to think about that, now.
Well, I talked to a couple of guys, Cedar Creek Land and Timber down Bruton way, knew some of the guys that managed ground for them, and a lot of the folks that worked for Cedar Creek, they hunted a big place called Why Not, and a lot of folks didn't want to shoot does, and they had one or two guys, one in particular, that bow hunted every day. And he typically shot the legal limit every day of the year on that place.
Gosh.
Buck and doe.
It's a wonder there's any deer at all.
At least does. You know, they managed it fairly well for for bucks, but he was out there shooting deer every day.
You think you could find a strawberry bush down there if somebody said your life depended on it?
Hey, I know quite a few places you can find them now, but it's generally on creek banks where they can't be reached.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But
hey, you can come find all you want in Marshall County.
yeah. Oh, I bet. Bankhead's full of them too.
Mm-hmm.
Bankhead is full of strawberry bush.
Yeah.
The Southern U podcast is brought to you by Darton Archery. For over 70 years, Darton Archery has been leading the way in archery innovation. With over 30 patents spanning over 60 years, it's easy to see why many archers and bow hunters have chosen to shoot a dart. Darton's patented dual sync cam system gives the archer 1/4 inch draw length adjustments, adjustable holding weight options ranging from 85% to 65%, and the super easy to tune E-system for quick adjustments and perfect arrow flight. For more information or to find an authorized Darton dealer, visit dartonarchery.com. That's DartonArchery.com.
And there'd eat them.
We got a lot of deer.
Oh, yeah.
We
do.
Most places have too many, and look, I'm a lazy hunter. I don't want to mess with those either, but they've got to be shot. Luckily, I got this guy.
See, and it drives me nuts. We've got a lease with, several members, and, of course, my dad, and I'm the only one that'll shoot does. And usually by the middle of season, everybody's like, will you quit killing does? And I'm like, if y'all would each kill one or two, I wouldn't have to.
I'm your huckleberry.
I mean,
Well, that's what he says.
For like X amount of does per X amount of acres.
We'd have been killing on about 2,200 acres. We've been killing 35-ish a year. We're somewhere between a doe per 50 to 75 acres, roughly.
Yeah.
And it seems like we're not even putting a dent in them. And look, this is all of our viewers. This does not apply everywhere. Okay, I understand that. You go to some properties and you try to start taking more than one per 100 acres, and you're going to do some damage in a hurry.
Yeah. Yep.
So you can't apply that everywhere. We've got phenomenal habitat, a lot of early successional habitat, burning, timber operations going on all the time, and our population just continues to grow.
I don't know what our zones are because I don't hunt in but one of them. But what's the Coleman, Blunt, Marshall?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that B?
No, that's C. Well,
C.
if it's in the
C.
valley, Tennessee Valley plus Blunt and northern part of Coleman, that's going to be in zone C.
Okay. Well, you shoot a doe per 100 there,
That's
you shoot
bad.
yourself out of deer. in a
Yeah,
hurry.
can't do that there.
And that's part of, Jackson County has been one of the, king counties, so
Yeah.
to speak, in Alabama for big bucks and a lot of deer. But there's a big part of Jackson County that's just continuous closed canopy hardwood forest. And in those areas, they've overshot that population. It's you don't see very many deer at all. I had 1,200 acres up there for years that unfortunately bordered WMA, which we just had a lot of hunters. It's not that they managed it poorly, so to speak, just a lot of hunters. But I recorded all my hunts for a year because we weren't seeing many deer. And I hunted like 180-something hours and saw 8 deer.
Wow.
That'd be hard. That'd be hard.
And that's nice property. We had big cornfields, had a lot of ag, and then mountainside. Now in springtime, totally different story. The number of deer that moved down into the valley from the mountains, they just came down in the valleys and stayed there. They shifted their home range, and we would have on a great year, man, we'd identify 15, 20 plus bucks just on our 1,200 acres, and acre and drop come around. Yep, we'd have 1, maybe 2 that would stay around. Not all those.
Acorns shift ranges around considerably.
And people don't give enough credit to that.
No, they sure don't.
Especially in ag country.
They sure
That's
don't.
Big valleys.
It's all
and
about the
hills.
acorns, baby.
It's all about the acorns, baby.
That's right. That's all good stuff, guys. I guess we kind of talked about the conservation, I guess, as a whole, as a state. But Bobby, I was going to ask you, what role do you feel like landowners have to play in conservation of wildlife in the South? Like, if we're talking about guys who actually own the land or at least have long-term leases of land, what do you feel like kind of the role for those people are to kind of ensure that this doesn't go away anytime soon?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of what we were just talking about is just paying attention to that, to what the conservation department is trying to do. I mean, we all need to manage our properties in a way that benefits. Let me say, the most success that we hear about are when one landowner who joins another one, they get on the same page.
Absolutely.
And then it might be 3 or 4 guys together. That's where it just seems to,
Yes.
2 + 2 equals way more than 4.
We promote
Why
cooperatives.
can that not happen in Alabama consistently?
Because of ego. I'm just going to say it. People I don't care what my neighbor's doing. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm going to kill the deer I want to kill, and I'm not going to have anybody tell me otherwise. Mm-hmm. And but when you can find common objectives and work toward those together, and you realize, hey, what I'm doing is benefiting you, Bobby, and what you're doing is benefiting me, or we can work against each other.
Yeah.
That's not a good relationship. You've got to work toward the same goal. And we push cooperatives on this podcast all the time. Talk to your neighbors. Find out what they're doing. Get on the same page. If you can help each other out with tractor work or whatever the case may be.
No, I think so. And the one caveat on the deer, everybody's like, man, I don't want to shoot this deer. Let's let this deer have a couple more birthdays. But on the places that I've been a part of that have been successful, when we've done that and communicated that with another person and shared pictures and they share back pictures, we usually caveat it by saying that'll be a hard one to keep a youngster off of.
Oh yeah.
So there's this understanding that I don't think you should shoot this deer. I'm hoping you don't shoot this deer. But you know what? If your 9-year-old little boy kills him, I'll be okay with that.
Oh yeah.
And so that kind of relieves a little of the, I don't know, it just kind of helps everybody get along.
Right.
That's right.
Better.
That's
And
right.
everybody kind of understands their expectations.
Exactly. And
What's cutoff age for kids?
And I'll say, I'm going to throw out a plug here for gamekeepers, but I texted Bobby when I got the last magazine. I was like, Bobby, there's so much information in gamekeepers that we've been discussing on our podcast. Like, it's just been going right along with what we've been talking about with doe harvest and getting deer to older age classes. And there was a great article in there about turkey management. That is a tremendous resource that if you're not a part of gamekeepers, you're not getting that magazine. It's good info.
And I appreciate you saying that. A lot of people just don't read
They
much
don't.
anymore.
They want a 60-second or less snippet that they can watch.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And so the magazine, we've been doing it for about 12 years, and after 12 years, 4 times a year, you kind of run out of. You can only talk about lyme so many times,
right.
But we've really kind of. We go down those roads, but then it's about managing your properties, about managing ponds, and we talk about mostly for deer, ducks, and turkey, but we often get down into rabbits and some other stuff. It's a good publication.
Well, and look, what benefits rabbits benefits deer.
Yeah, somebody said something to me the other day that if you see and you have rabbits, you probably have pretty good habitat.
Absolutely.
Right.
I've never thought about it quite like that.
Yep.
So, but yeah, it's like $24 to subscribe, and I think it's the best $24 a landowner or a club member. Club, because then you can explain something to somebody and say, well, look, no, if you don't believe me, read.
Right.
Read
this. Get one subscription for the entire club. Just leave it at the clubhouse.
Yeah.
They're on the table for somebody
you
to
need
read.
to pitch that to the state's technical assistance group. They need to provide, when somebody signs up, a
Copy
subscription
of Gamekeepers.
There you go. Yeah, it'd be about like a promo code.
I tell you what, it's easier though, guys, for what y'all are doing. I mean, your podcast y'all are doing. People are more interested, I think, now than ever in taking care of their property. I was telling,
They are.
I agree.
telling Matt earlier, we used to come to shows like this, People would pull out photographs of a deer they killed. Look at this deer I killed. Now it's completely the opposite of that. It's look at this 3-year-old I've got. Look at this 4-year-old.
That's still alive.
Still alive, and I got pictures of them. I hope I think that's awesome.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Check out this burn we did.
Yeah, it's very rewarding
Yeah.
when they come up to you and say, "Look at this burn I did," or "Look at this food plot I planted," or "Hey man, I'm having my timber thin. Look what it looks like." You know, that to me is more rewarding than somebody showing me a picture of a 140-inch deer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it really is. And a lot of times, guys, they think I can't do anything on my little farm. My farm, I got a little 40-acre tract. I don't keep any turkeys in the wintertime. But in the spring, I'll have a hen or two show up. But then she's leaving, and she's not there. There's not a gobbler around. She's just up there to be a quiet area and have a nest. So my role in this whole thing, I'm sending baby turkeys to somebody else.
To somebody.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
That's what I'm trying to. I've accepted my role for that place,
Right.
and so hopefully, maybe one day something good can come back. But that's what I can do to help turkeys.
That's
right?
Bobby, you're going to kill a turkey on that place this year.
Well, I don't know about this year.
I think you will. Wait till we burn it.
Well,
Wait till we burn it. They'll be gobbling their
like
heads
a
off.
vacuum.
It'll be every turkey around there will come straight in.
But that I've never really heard anybody put it just the way you did. But you've accepted your role in the way that things are going to go. If other landowners that were small landowners looked at it that way, how good things could be.
Absolutely. You may think your 40 acres is not having an impact because I can't manage deer on my 40 acres, or I might or might not have a turkey gobbling on my 40 acres this spring. But if you can provide a successful nesting opportunity for 2 hens,
yeah.
think about that. Think about what the success rate is on, promoting or recruiting turkeys into the adult population anyway. If you can have a hand in that.
Yeah.
And 10% of landowners felt that way.
Yeah. Me and a client had a conversation with a neighbor of his, just trying to get a couple folks on board. And he had that same mentality the neighbor did of, I can't do any good with my place. I don't own enough acres. And we went through kind of what he was doing. I said, you don't necessarily have to feel like you're making a positive impact, but you don't have to make a negative one.
That's right.
Because you are making a negative one now, the way it's being handled. And I said, reality, you can do some positive things here that can help you. I said, but you're helping him too. But everything he's doing as a big landowner next to you, is helping you. You're taking advantage of the work that he's putting in. And, don't know if it's going to go anywhere, but I sure hope it does, because he's about to get fenced out.
Yeah. And I mean, bad as I hate to say it, I don't think that the average hunter in Alabama understands the importance of larger landowners and their role in conservation, because folks who have money, who are actively managing their place, they're benefiting everybody around them, whether we like it or not.
Yep.
That's the nature of the beast. So when you can help a landowner who's actively managing beside you rather than being a thorn in their flesh, then I mean it helps everybody.
Just expand what's being done.
That's exactly right.
And if you take that mentality, maybe your neighbor on the other side of you'll take that mentality, and so on, and it just grow from there.
Well, I think too, like Bobby said it earlier, but I don't know that people know or understand the kind of impact that they can make. Like he was just like, I feel like I need to have a biology degree to be able to manage my, like, no, you don't necessarily. You probably need some guidance, need some advice on what to do, but like a lot of this stuff you can do, and can make a big difference in. And even talking with Paul yesterday about like what impact you can make through NWTF is like, I was shocked. I mean, I had no idea, what was out there and what was available. And what difference one person can make in that capacity. And so, so I think if people knew or people realized the impact they could make, they probably would do it. And most of the times, like you said, like, oh gosh, I've got 30 acres of family farm, can't do anything with that. You would be surprised. You might be. The Southern U podcast is brought to you by Vitalize Seed. What sets Vitalized seed mixes apart from other companies is their ability to keep producing throughout multiple periods of the year. The symbiotic relationships between the different varieties support soil health while being extremely attractive to a variety of wildlife and important pollinators. If you're looking for a product that is going to benefit all of your wildlife and help you put deer and turkey in the freezer, ask your local seed dealer for Vitalized seed. And for more information, visit vitalizeseed.com. That's VITALIZESEED.com.
You know, the little pollinator program that,
Oh, gosh,
that they
yes.
have out there. I've been amazed at how much wildlife is attracted to those native plantings. Just absolutely blown away.
It is mind blowing.
Yeah.
I've done the same thing through the CSP program on my place, and people don't understand when we plant like monocultures of soybeans or cowpeas or some other crop for summer forage, and they think, well, it's got a protein content of 25% or so. There's native plant species that have the same or more protein content, and you can impact way more acres rather than your 5-acre food plot with a prescribed fire or a native prairie planting, pollinator planting. And the diversity of species that come back in those, there's something blooming from early spring all the way into fall, attracting butterflies and moths and wasps and bees, and all those things are important to the overall ecosystem. I mean, our health is important. It's affected by pollinators.
Turkey poults.
Turkey
all
poults,
they're eating.
They're walking through those pollinator habitats, plucking caterpillars, and grasshoppers.
Right. Picking in birds.
But when you said that 30 acres, I mean, that's something a guy can do on a small place.
Absolutely.
And visually see some results.
Yeah, that's probably a big factor is people want instant gratification, or at least want something to show for their efforts. And that's probably a factor in that equation too, is like, I want to be able to see that this made a difference. And
I think that's, and Bobby's in the business, but I think that's why so many people just fixate on the food plots. It's pretty instant. I can put seed in the ground, and hey, if it rains and 2 weeks later, I can see it.
Well, so we firmly believe that having a nutritious food plot is important.
Absolutely.
But it can feed a lot of different wildlife, rabbits. But the thing that we also try to explain to people is that's not the place to hunt every time.
Right.
And it's a lot of times these kids are, and I'm guilty of it as well, but it's easier to go sit in a shooting house over a food plot, and then that young person doesn't get the opportunity to learn about some of the woodsmanship skills.
That's right. I'm
Matt,
guilty.
We all are.
I mean, walking through the woods with him is just fascinating because he's pointing out this and that, so I would like to encourage people to not just say, well, we're going to plant this 3-acre food plot and that's going to be the hunting spot. But if you find trails coming to and from, and that food plot is there to feed and nourish the deer herd through those lean winter months, and it's a place that you can hunt and you can have success, but it's not the only place.
It's a piece to the puzzle.
That's right. Yep.
Well, you'll hear in the terminology they use. Hey, I'm going to put a food plot in, or I'm going to put a kill plot in. Those are different things.
Yeah,
If your intentions are, I'm trying to harvest stuff off of this, generally it's going to be really small, really tiny, something like that. But if this is food plot, this is meant to feed what's here, and not necessarily to take animals off of it. But
and it doesn't, in today's world, a guy can borrow a tractor from somebody. For a little money, you can have somebody come disc it up for you.
That's right.
There's ways to get things done.
Oh, yeah.
And, I'm watching, you guys probably have an opinion or know more than I do, but we're kind of watching this, and I'm blanking on the terminology, but they're using these roller crimpers.
Regenerative
So
farming.
we're trying to watch that, because that on the surface makes sense. But I wonder how a lot of that's going to work.
I can tell you, it's pretty it can be spotty. Living and working where we work, or I work a lot in Northeast Alabama, it's rocky, so we don't have the option of putting a disc in the ground. If you do, when you get done, you don't have one left. So we have a lot of clients, and even as a consultant, we go out and we'll take a whirlybird spreader and we're putting seed out, typically in something that's been terminated already. But I've got a flail mower that I'll raise up, make sure I'm not hitting rocks, and just clip all that stuff off, falls right down, and when we get rain, we've got, a food plot. It's not the same as the roller crimper, but we've done that too. I can tell you I didn't keep a roller crimper. If I'm going to do any of that, I've got a cultipacker that does much of the same. I get it on the ground and we're running no-till drill through it. But you remember Brian Shepard, I'm sure well.
Yeah.
Brian and I did some of that stuff years ago when I first got out of college, and we were working in that East Georgia part of the world around Bill's place and Jeff's place, and he showed me some of that kind of stuff. So it's been toyed around with in the food plot game for a long time, but it's finally hit mainstream.
Yeah.
I like it. As far as no-till drilling and terminating and not trying to use a disc. From a consultant side of things, where we're having to run a tractor, is its efficiency to me. When I can run a no-till drill and terminate with a herbicide, and with the setup I've got, I can do it all in one pass. Generally, I don't. I'll come back and terminate later with Roundup Ready stuff. But it's evolving.
The idea of making your soil better is, we all have to be for that.
Yep.
And I can certainly see and understand, and turning that soil, how it's just got to start all back over with all those bugs inside. So it makes sense, but I hope that there's something to it. We can figure out a way that it can make it applicable so that the average guy can do it. Because right now, if you go to buy a roller crimper, they're pretty expensive.
They're high.
Yeah.
Yep. And no-till drills, no different. Now some of the drills coming out are getting better, that are not your mainline ag quality drills. I saw one on a client's place, leave the name out of it, but I was impressed with the build as compared to some of the other cheaper versions. It was built well, and I've yet to see how well it works and meters and that type of thing. But
I tell you,
I'm
we
interested
have
to see
in
it.
the last 4 or 5 years fallen more in love with clover than ever.
I'm a clover fan.
And it's got a place in everybody's toolbox.
Absolutely.
For sure. And, there's a lot of varieties that are better suited for the South. The northern guys have kind of been on to clover for a long time. But right now, as it's in February, I feel like I need to be kind of spraying to get ready for
Yes.
my
It's
clover.
about time.
Absolutely.
It's about time.
Some of these clovers that are kind of new on the scene are unbelievable. I mean, they're going to change how a lot of folks food plot.
Yep.
It's I think it can save a guy some money too.
Absolutely.
And provide more
Absolutely.
nutrition. There's just a way to figure this out.
And I referenced the folks that we work for in Northeast Alabama, where it's rocky. 100% of their fields are clover. They're managed clover. Now
they're easy to establish.
Yep, we may go in and clip and put cereal grains down in the fall ahead of a big rain just to get some type of vertical growth on a cereal grain. But they're managed clover fields. I mean, there's no sense in fighting the rock.
So how soon are y'all going to start spraying some kind of grass-specific stuff on your clovers?
Next week or
I start saying
before March.
Next couple
probably.
weeks.
Yeah, if you wait till after turkey season.
Oh,
Too late.
yeah, it's too late.
Yeah,
too late.
It is. So, and a lot of guys, I think I'll just deal with that after turkey season.
Yeah, and it's too late.
But if you're not planting clover,
Behind
you're
the
missing
ball.
it.
Yep.
It really is a great product.
No doubt about it. Well, I've got one more question left for you, and kind of pivoting back towards Mossy Oak and gamekeepers, what do you feel like kind of is on the horizon for you guys? I mean, for how far you've come, and things have definitely seems like risen in popularity, and there's, like you just said, there's more of a desire for people wanting to know about, learn about how to manage their land and how to do this thing the right way. What do you feel like, where do you guys go from here, or what does the future hold for you guys?
Yeah, well, so it's not about, Toxie will tell you, it's not about him, it's not about me. Everybody's working to position this brand so that the younger people coming along can be a part of it and continue shining a light on conservation issues where there are problems, and maybe we can help. We just started this Gamekeeper Grants where we're helping turkey researchers right now. We're providing some money so they can buy GPS units or the things that what do you guys need? Well, we need this, and we can help them. So we're selling a turkey stamp to try to raise those funds. Last year we raised over $100,000. All of it went back to turkey research.
That's awesome.
Great.
So I want to say that the horizon is just to do more of that, give back and continue to. There's Mississippi State, Auburn. There's so many young people coming up in the wildlife world now that are interested in managing and doing things, and I feel really good about the future. Yeah. And I think our role in the future is to be a company that can just be there to help and shine that spotlight and be a voice to help. People can read our magazine, they can watch our television show. People don't watch television like they used to. No. They don't. YouTube has come on, but I still think there is a segment of the population, and they're probably my age and older, but they still like to sit down and watch television.
That's right.
And so we're anywhere we can preach and try to tell people how to do things. So that's we've got a TV show, and we got a little podcast as well, and that's a great way to get
I love that. A little podcast.
Well,
okay,
but it's just a great way to get the word out.
That's right.
People. These are great. You're riding to work, you're driving the tractor, whatever. You can listen to. It's talk radio, but it's when you want to listen to it, and about what you want to listen to.
That's right. So. Oh yeah, I've listened to a ton of them mowing the grass. Just throw it on and kind of get in the zone and cut the grass and get a little education in there too.
Well, I think the best thing we got going for us is everybody in our little group is just real curious, and everybody's had their curiosity is just a little bit different. Dudley's into trees and native plants, and I'm into deer and turkeys, and Lanny's really into ducks, and we've all been at various stages raising kids, and I've got a daughter that took to hunting like a duck to water.
Now, she killed a nice deer this year, didn't she?
Yeah. She killed a couple, and she
okay.
has for. I've been keeping her out of Lamar County. But so I've got I think. And I'm very. I want to make sure I'm very humble about this. I'm not bragging, but I think I know the what worked for me to introduce a girl to the outdoors and bring her all the way up through it, and where she goes by herself.
Yeah.
And Dudley's got some little boys, Laney's got little boys, and so everybody's at different stages, and that's really where it kind of comes full circle is when you start taking them and you see them get excited and they want to make it part of their lifestyle.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, yeah. No, I appreciate y'all having me on. I'm a fan of what you guys are doing and just love the subject matter. And I don't want to be polarizing with any comments. So, if you think about the guys down at the state, they're doing the best they can. I mean, they got challenges, and we all have opinions, and I'm sure people get tired of hearing everybody's opinions, but it's because we love the wildlife.
We're passionate.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, where you have passion, the emotions will spill over.
Yeah,
inevitably.
Matt don't mind being polarizing.
I don't. If I'm honestly, if I'm convicted by something enough for me to be polarizing, I can't help but speak up on it. I don't mean to be abrasive, but like if it bothers me that much, I've got to say something. And
that's why
it's the legend.
Yeah, I mean, but even if we are polarizing, we're going to tell you what we think.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll be cordial about it. I mean, I'm not a part of the shut up. I'm not part of the cancel culture where if we disagree, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
You know, that's not what I'm about.
Yeah.
We can agree to disagree on some things, but
Some things.
Do you
Some
think
things.
Alabama will ever have like a velvet weekend?
I hope not. Bobby, I hope not.
Yes.
I think they will eventually
give in to pressure.
They'll give in to the pressure, especially if more bordering states continue
It was
to
a
push
success
earlier.
in Mississippi. I think they had about 700 bucks killed,
Oh wow!
and there were some really nice ones too.
Yeah. Oh, I bet it's easy to kill deer early.
I'll say
it's
this:
easy.
I don't know that it's the best thing for the deer herd.
That's my
However,
yeah.
it would be incredible for that little bitty sliver of property I get to hunt in Marshall County.
But see,
because-
I personally, I don't give a flip about killing a deer in velvet. That's just me. That's not my thing. I don't want to get out and fight mosquitoes and kill a deer when it's still got its summer coat.
Y'all.
And I'm a killer. Like
Yeah.
I love killing things, but
It don't have anything to do with velvet, but if he can get to him first, he's going to get to him.
he's just mad. He's jealous.
Hey, look, I am too, man. I wish I could go out the back door and kill a 140. Or something,
Everybody
you know?
doesn't have that opportunity. I'm blessed. I really am.
Absolutely.
I understand.
If they opened up a velvet weekend,
I would be banned from a lot of the properties that I hunt.
Just
I would.
But how it would impact us, where we hunt, where you and I hunt, I think so many bucks would be killed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it would eventually cause problems.
Ruin the rest of the season.
Well, I don't think. I will say this. I would in no way be in favor of maintaining the 10 days in February and adding velvet days.
Right.
I couldn't handle that. I might implode. I might.
One or the other, but you can't have both.
Yeah.
I'd trade 10 for 2.
Yes.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
I would do that in a
trade
heartbeat.
those 10 days for 2 days early velvet. I would.
Yep.
That would be a trade-off that I'd be willing to entertain.
Well, now, and again, I'm assuming.
Chuck, you
I'm-
listening?
Yeah.
I'm assuming that, I mean, if there is a velvet season, that's going to be archery equipment only, correct? Or is that going to be rifles
Not
too?
necessarily. I mean, I don't know if the state of Alabama's thinking about anything like that, but other states have allowed either muzzle loader or rifle seasons.
Really?
Some of them have.
Like modern rifle or
Well,
straight?
just single shot.
Okay,
Yeah,
so straight wall cartridge.
Yeah, a lot of these muzzle loader seasons are just single shot.
Yeah.
You know,
Rifles.
Just, yeah,
Straight wall cartridge.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean.
Which people
like,
will get around that too, trust me.
Yeah.
Well, I had a buddy that hunted in Mississippi, and when y'all first did the straight wall cartridge over there, that's been quite a while ago.
35 caliber and up. Yeah.
Yeah, but he had a guy custom build a rifle based off of a 375 Shytac parent cartridge. He shoots 700-800 yards with a straight wall cartridge.
Wow.
He got kicked out of the club.
Yeah, but he can legally hunt in Mississippi.
He
that
can
way.
legally hunt in Mississippi.
That doesn't sound primitive at all.
There wasn't nothing about it primitive.
Yeah.
Well, hey, those are your rules. I'm just playing by them.
Yeah.
The $3,000 or $4,000 rangefinder and custom built rifle with target turrets and all. Yeah. But hey, he was playing by the rules.
Yeah,
That's right. The Southern U podcast is brought to you by First South Farm Credit. If you are looking to purchase land, it's highly likely that financing will be needed. The team at First South Farm Credit understands the ins and outs of the land buying process and can help you get the financing needed to secure your purchase. Whether you are looking for that dream cattle farm or that big piece of timber to chase deer and turkey on, First South Farm Credit can get it done. For more information, visit firstsouthfarmcredit.com. That's first, F-I-R-S-T, South, S-O-U-T-H, Farm, F-A-R-M, Credit, C-R-E-D-I-T.com. That's right.
Well, Bobby, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, look, I'm glad to be a part, and thank y'all for asking me.
No, we really appreciate it, and
Yep.
I know this is a huge weekend for you guys, and to take the time out of what's going on in that convention hall in there and to come spend time with us is a big deal. So,
Yeah,
thank
appreciate
you.
what y'all do. I mean,
Yeah.
y'all support a lot of different folks through the industry, and it's awesome.
Well, we appreciate that. Yeah, we care very much about it. It's definitely something, loving wildlife and habitat that's the main driver.
Well, I don't want to. I'm not going to get on here and preach, but if you go back to the very first job that man had, it was tending the garden. So I think we're to be good stewards of what God's given us.
Good way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah. Work was always part of the plan.
Oh yeah.
Everybody wants to blame that on Eve.
Yeah.
No, like it was always part of the deal.
Yeah.
So
name the animals and take care of them.
That's right.
I tell you what, though, if a guy, there's an awful lot of satisfaction comes from, like I'm going to do this, hoping that this happens, and then when you put in all that sweat equity and do it, and then you see the results that you were expecting or more, it is super rewarding.
It is.
That's more
incredible.
important to me than any animal to put on the wall.
Yeah.
And I've got clients. Look, they're professionals. That's why they can afford to pay us to do what we do. They love to see it. I mean, they're out there every few days looking, even though they're not taking part in the day-to-day work of a development project. But they are so excited to see what's done in the last few days that they've been there and see it transform. And, to me, there's no difference in how we handle it and they handle it. They're just, having to outsource their time because their time's valuable elsewhere.
And honestly, like with a lot of these smaller landowners, I like to take the time to mentor them. I want them to be there when I burn, and that way I can turn that over to them after a few burns. They can get they can get certified. They show enough interest in it. They don't own a lot of property, so they have time to fool with it. They may just be apprehensive, or don't know quite what to do. And with those smaller landowners, I just like to, hey, look, I'm going to help you out, and this is going to be your baby. I'm not going to come back and help you burn every year indefinitely. And that is rewarding to me when a landowner jumps all in from that aspect and really wants to be a part of that.
There was a day last year in February where you could go on a website in the state of Alabama and it would show where all the fires were.
Oh, yeah.
And it was looked like the whole state was on fire.
Yes. You can go to the Forestry Commission website and you can look at the map and you can zoom in and see the acreages and exactly where they're at.
And so I think it's caught on, though, that the burning. Because, growing up in Union Springs, that county, Bullitt County, got burned every year.
Oh, yeah. From
quail,
county line to county line.
the quail plantations there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was gorgeous.
Yeah.
But now you just, and then.
Well, look,
it's
when I started Habitat First Properties, I envisioned a time when, like right now, when people see smoke, they just panic. They call 911, they call the fire department, they report it. And I'm like, by the time I retire, I want smoke to be so common that people expect to see it. And, that's where I hope that we move to.
I've talked to 2 or 3 guys here that know what Matt and I do, and we were talking burning, and, I was explaining to one of them, I said, look, if the 10 guys that we know all left their jobs today and started burning, there would be more business than we could all do in a year.
I can't do it all, and he can't do it all. And I turn burn jobs down all the time. You only have so many burn days within a burn season.
Yeah.
John Stiver says every day's a burn day.
Every day is a potential burn day, but what I'm saying is
Depends on what you're going to burn up.
every day is a potential burn day, but you don't always have the conditions that you need in order to burn. Right. So, you can only burn so much in a year. We need more burn practitioners out there.
We need more people. We need more young people, experienced on not just hunting. I think we've got as many or more young hunters now than we've had in a long time. But we need more hunters, more young people taking interest in the woodsmanship and the learning to drive a tractor, learning to plant a food plot, planting trees, going out and doing the groundwork.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing that. I mean, even now at the state agency level, to where so many people are hiring in and they don't have any of that experience.
Right. You were talking about, we've got a good crop of graduates interested in research and things, but I agree with that. But what I see coming into the workforce with these state agencies and with private consultants and, government agencies, we're losing those hook and bullet type biologists.
I've heard that too. Yeah.
We're losing them. Like, they're not even
and we've got to figure out some way to manufacture some of those coming back in behind the few of us that are left.
And by hook and bullet, I don't necessarily mean that they have to hunt, but they're not on the ground applied biologists. They're not managing properties. And why are they not managing properties? Because they don't know how to operate equipment. They didn't grow up on farms. I mean, you're seeing less and less of that. And I think it's going to be very important to the future of hunting to get those type of graduates out of these programs. I don't know. I still think those type students are out there. I just don't know why they're not in those programs anymore.
There's a lot of thought that, because the mom and pop and the family farm is a dying thing. And don't get me wrong, I sell them every day. They're being split up and sold off and developed. But there are still a lot of young folks out there living in rural communities that don't really know that that's an option for them, the wildlife industry. And if, I think if they were to know more about it, they'd pull some of those folks in.
For sure. Yeah, and the last thing I'll say before we get out of here is this goes for us and certainly for Mossy Oak and gamekeepers too. Like, we're not trying to hoard away any secret sauce. We're trying our best to give it out, and
for free.
For free to make it available and make it, easily accessible so that you can get as many resources as we can to throw at you so that you can make whatever decisions you feel like you need to make to manage your property the best way you can. So,
and we're saying we're trying to provide that for free. Obviously, Matt and I, charge as consultants, but there are a lot of folks out there that do what Matt and I do. A lot of them are really great. Some of them maybe not. I don't know all of them. But once you get to the level that you think you're capable of carrying it, reach out to some of these folks. It's not something that's going to break the bank. We had a guy call us wanting to come out and do one, and he said, "Man, I can't do that right now, but hey, I'm going to save up for a month, and then I'll get y'all out there." There's plenty of guys out there that's going to work with you to get you over the hump.
Well, there's a big difference in there's always a know-it-all in a hunting club. There's a big difference in a know-it-all and somebody that went to school and has been trained and taught and all that. I think you get your money's worth out of somebody when you have somebody come to your property and like what you're talking. Like, I know I spent a little time with Matt. And was amazed at just the stuff he's just pointing out, looking at. I mean, it's amazing. It really is. Very much enjoyed a 20-minute walk in the woods with him.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us. Thank you again for listening, and we encourage you to subscribe, share, send carrier pigeon, whatever you got to do to get the word out there that we're doing this thing, and tell your friends. We certainly do appreciate it, and we certainly appreciate you, Bobby, for hanging out with us. And whenever you guys get a chance to hear this, let us know how we did. We're big boys. If you don't like it, you can tell us that too. We're always game for some words of encouragement and let us know that you liked it. So
absolutely,
certainly appreciate it. But we will see you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.
See y'all.